Train the muscles, not the joints.
Welcome back to Natural Gallant Bodybuilding. Mountain. And today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about some of the questions that are asked on YouTube, quite a bit about training. And I always get, or at least a lot of times, I get questions in absolutes from people based on one small characteristic of themselves. So for instance, I'll get somebody say, hey, I'm a tall person. Should I squat shallow depth of field, or should I do deeper range of motion or shorter range of motion? Or I get a person that says, hey, I'm a Mesomorph or I'm an Ectomorph. How should I eat or how should I train, right? So one thing I want to say to you, and it's really a slippery slope when it comes down to training, is that people will take one small characteristic of themselves and then make a ton of assumptions about what they should be doing in their workout program or in their diet. And the mistake with this is that it excludes being in the moment and responding to what is happening in that moment, right? So if you ask me, Jason, how much oxygen do I need in a day? And I have brown hair, you know, and then I'm supposed to answer exactly how much oxygen you need. And then you go breathing. Well, obviously, if you found that you weren't getting enough oxygen, you would take a couple of extra breaths, right? I mean, it's really that simple. So it's the same thing with your training. If you're noticing you're not getting results, or you're not getting more muscular, or you're just not getting leaner, you would make adjustments in the diet. So the thing is that people crave the template, but really what they want is to be able to understand how to adjust parameters and respond to what is happening. So these are better questions to ask. I'm noticing such and such is happening in my training when I do this. Would this be something that may give me positive results or not, right? So recently I talked to you guys a lot about my training, and I've been doing lower volume for years. And for some reason, my body seems to be not responding as well to it. So then I made an adjustment and I went to higher volume, and now my body is responding, you see? So there is no absolute answer when it comes down to what's appropriate for you in this moment. There is only the logic in how to adjust the parameters. So say for instance, I go fishing on the lake right now, right? And I'm using a certain bait and no fish, like not one fish is biting. Well, I would change the bait, or I would change the lure, right? And then see if they bite to that. I would experiment with that. But to say, hey, I'm driving a boat that is driven by an electric motor, and I'm using such and such fishing rod. The bait I'm using, and that's supposed to be good for trout, and the trout aren't biting, so obviously just training doesn't work for me. That would be a false leap of logic, right? You know, fishing just doesn't work for me, right? I meant fishing, but you know what I'm saying? You'd be making a false leap of logic. You would obviously adjust one of the parameters there and see if you get a positive response or not. Now, one thing that's going to happen is you're going to get greater experience, and you're going to notice when you adjust a parameter a certain way, then you get a certain experience, and you adjust it another way, you get another experience, such as I know when I deep squat, it just destroys my knees. It doesn't help my knees. It doesn't make my knees feel good. It doesn't give me bigger legs. It just injures me. And I've revisited that over and over again, and keeps on doing it. So I know that that's kind of a non-negotiable sort of variable to adjust to my training. I know that from constantly revisiting that over and over again, that I'm getting a certain response from the body. Although there's always the possibility that something in the future will change, right now it's more of a solid sort of rule or law that my body goes by, and that's what I base my next leaps of logic on to a certain point, right? But for me to say that I'm getting no results, and because I did a certain workout program and I got lots of results lots of times, and to say, hey, that workout program must be perfect, even though I'm not getting the result I want now, that would be stupid, right? Because perhaps there are other parameters or other variables that are going on right now in my life and my age and whatever that need to be addressed in order for me to get to the next level of results. And here's the next thing I want to say, is that say you use a certain technique, you are stimulating a certain pathway in your body in order to create muscle mass and in order to stimulate an adaptation in the body. But once your body has adapted to where it sees that it is done the best possible adaptation it possibly can, and it doesn't feel the need to adapt anymore, then you need to push it in a different way. So one technique might work for a period of time, but then what happens is the body says, hey, I've adapted enough now. I'm totally perfect at this technique. I don't need to do anything else. Then you need to change that. So one thing I found is that when I've done high frequency for a period of time and gotten a certain result, certain strength, and so forth, by going into the high volume now, I'm using that extra strength and coordination I've gotten, and now I'm stimulating the muscles in a different way, saying, hey, we've done this high frequency thing for a while and low volume. Now we're going to up the volume a bit. How do you respond to that, right? Now, a person would say, well, what's the perfect volume, right? That would be the stupid kind of question, right? The perfect kind of volume would be the one that is creating results and not overtraining you, right? So what I did was I upped my volume. I stopped going to failure in order to get a little bit more volume in. And then I watched how my body was responding. Am I getting stronger? Am I getting bigger? Am I feeling pumpy and lumpy? Or am I feeling injured, right? Because that's something to also pay attention to. And then once I noticed that my body was getting bigger and stronger, well, then I will continue that technique until it no longer works for me. And then I will try something else. Maybe back to lower volume, high frequency, more intensity, more failure type stuff. Maybe that's what I need at that point. But it's this constant dance that you're involved in. That's really what you're doing. And by adjusting certain parameters, you're going to get a feel for sometimes when you do too much. Like say a guy doing 30 sets every day for a body part would be too much. I mean, right? That's like overkill. But through your own experiments, you're going to find out what is overkill for you and what's overkill for the next guy. It might be different. So that's why answering in absolutes is very difficult, because each person has their own individual situation, right? So yeah, so learn to dance, learn to make adjustments based on what you notice is happening. If you're getting too sore, then maybe lower down the volume. If your joints are just killing you, maybe change the range of motion a little bit, or lower down the intensity, right? Maybe you're going too heavy. This is the stuff that I'm asking you to pay attention to. It's like teach a man to fish. You can fish every day, you know, catch a man to fish, he's kind of dependent on you, right? So this doesn't work very good as a business model for myself, because obviously it'd be better if you just bought my workout programs for me to make a living, to be able to continue doing this. But at the same time, I'd rather people that use my workout programs be able to learn how to think as well. And if they do buy a workout program, they do it because they're supporting the channel and they want some ideas, but they're not necessarily slaves. You know what I'm saying? I got the Sasquatches in the forest for that. Although they throw poo a lot. It's not fun. Mountain. They can throw poo quite a ways, quite a distance actually. I mean, that island is far away, but trust me, it's not far enough. And if you guys like videos like these, you like the information and comedy and stupid stuff I say once in a while, you might want to check out the Patreon podcast. The link is down below on Natural Gallant Bodybuilding on Patreon, and I have a podcast for people at tier 2 and higher. So basically for the price of a cup of coffee a month, you can listen to the podcast. Mountain. Natural Gallant.